When we recall India's freedom struggle, images of Gandhian protests, revolutionary youth, and tricolour flags fill our minds. But as the nation marked 75 years of independence, a new chapter in the public debate opened. What role did the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh or RSS actually play in the fight against British colonialism? In this video, we step beyond headlines and speeches to critically explore the historical record of the RSS during India's freedom movement. What do archival documents and leading historians really say? How do contemporary claims measure up against documented facts? And why does this debate decades later continue to shape our collective memory and political discourse? Hello, my name is Tuba Sanobar and welcome to The Upfront. On the eve of the 75th anniversary of Indian independence, while the entire nation was waving the tricolour flag, a flag representing harmony and diversity among Indians, Prime Minister Narendra Modi wholeheartedly praised the RSS during his Independence Day speech. He stated, the RSS was formed 100 years ago. It was always involved in nation building.
आज मैं बहुत गर्व के साथ एक बात का जिक्र करना चाहता हूं। आज से 100 साल पहले एक संगठन का जन्म हुआ, राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ। 100 साल की राष्ट्र की सेवा एक बहुत ही गौरवपूर्ण स्वर्णिम पृष्ठ है।
But did the RSS really participate in the freedom movement? Hypothetically, if yes, then how many notable freedom fighters with RSS ideology took part in the movements against colonial rule? Why did V.D. Savarkar write mercy petitions to the British government from Andaman jail, and why did he orchestrate the assassination of Mahatma Gandhi? Why did the RSS refuse to accept the tricolour flag as the national flag for 52 years? The RSS, a neo-fascist movement crusading for a radical ideology that denies multiculturalism, is an Indian far-right Hindutva paramilitary organization. Founded in 1925, the organization did not play a direct role in India's independence struggle. It stayed away from the civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement, and other mass protests against British rule. K.B. Hegdewar, the founding father of the RSS, participated in Congress-led protests before 1925. However, after forming the RSS, the focus shifted to cultural nationalism, not confronting colonial power. British records describe the RSS as a non-threat compared to the Congress or INA. The role of the RSS in the freedom movement was not a topic of discourse in the first 5 decades of independent India. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the then Prime Minister, was under immense pressure from the RSS leadership to confer the Bharat Ratna on both K. Baliraman Hegdewar and Sadashiv Golwalkar for being great freedom fighters. When Narendra Modi became Prime Minister in 2014, this mission gained momentum with discussions about conferring a Bharat Ratna on Veer Savarkar. This proposal was shelved after a nationwide debate over Savarkar's questionable role in the freedom struggle. In his 4th mercy petition dated March 30, 1920, Savarkar wrote to the British government that every intelligent lover of India would heartily and loyally cooperate with the British people in the interests of India herself. In the late 1930s and 1940s, many RSS members admired European fascists. Contemporary accounts suggest that during this period, Golwalkar sought to turn the RSS into a Nazi-style militia with the goal of installing himself as a Führer. In 1942, RSS chief Golwalkar instructed that the RSS routine work should continue and that nothing should be done to annoy the British. He advised members to avoid mass movements. Sardar Patel himself noted that the RSS did not participate in the struggle for independence in any substantial way. RSS members were even encouraged to join the Civil Guard, a measure to quell Quit India protests in greater numbers. It is unsurprising, therefore, that during the colonial period, the RSS collaborated with the British Raj and played no role in Indian independence movement. A 1945 police report even shows the RSS's secret desire to capture political power. When one imagines the complexity of India's freedom movement, the imagery is vivid. Gandhian salt marches, fiery speeches in Congress sessions, peasants and students defying colonial mandates, and marchers in prison. Into this panorama, where does the RSS fit? The claim explored here is simple. From its founding in 1925 until 1947, the RSS was largely absent from the mainstream anti-colonial struggle. Its energies lay elsewhere, in cultural consolidation, communal posturing, and future political ambitions. The RSS was founded in 1925 by K.B. Hegdewar in Nagpur as a cultural and social organization committed to Hindu identity and social reform. Critics argue that from its inception, it positioned itself not as a vehicle of anti-colonial activism, but as a spiritual and communal organization aimed at building a cadre in a Hindu society. The ideological core was not primarily anti-British nationalism, but Hindutva, the idea that India is fundamentally the land of Hindus. This distinction matters in practice. One may declare opposition to British rule abstractly, yet still decline to advance that opposition in militant or mass forms. One of the clearest arguments is that between 1925 and 1947, the RSS as an organization did not take part in any of the major mass movements launched by Congress or other nationalist groups. In the decades of non-cooperation, civil disobedience, Quit India or the Salt March, the RSS held itself apart. An article published in The Wire stresses that Hegdewar, though he had associations with the Congress and once went to jail during the non-cooperation period, insisted that the RSS remain apolitical. When civil disobedience movements were active, the RSS would refrain from organizational involvement. Hegdewar claimed personal action but kept the RSS away. During the Quit India movement of 1942, arguably the climax of anti-British resistance, an internal Home Department note cites that RSS meetings urged members to keep aloof from Congress disruptions, and these directives were generally observed. Thus, in what many historians consider the decisive phases of the freedom movement, the RSS as an institutional actor was missing. This absence does not imply indifference or powerlessness. Rather, the sources suggest that its priorities were elsewhere. The RSS spent its early decades building a disciplined internal structure, training cadres, spreading its branches, and inculcating loyalty and identity. Its reluctance to engage in confrontational with the colonial state may have been tactical to avoid repression and enable long-term growth. The RSS's vision of nationalism was Hindu nationalism, not inclusive Indian nationalism. Some historians argue that in colonial India's volatile environment, the RSS saw its role more in protecting Hindu social interests, often in opposing or suspicion of Muslim politics and the idea of two nations. A 1945 police report describes a meeting at RSS headquarters in which leaders discussed a plan to seize power at a suitable moment, rather than struggle for immediate independence under Congress terms. The meeting, documented in a notebook seized after Gandhi's assassination, shows discussions on how the RSS might prepare to take over power once political conditions had changed. Madhukar Deoras, a senior functionary, is quoted as saying that the RSS would build its strength and at an opportune movement seize power. This suggests that rather than participating in resistance to British rule, the RSS had internal political designs for when the colonial structure would be withdrawn or weakened. Over time, the RSS has claimed involvement in India's nationalist awakening. Critics argue these are retrospective reinterpretations lacking documentary evidence of organizational participation in the freedom struggle. Moreover, the RSS did not hoist the tricolour for decades after independence, preferring its saffron flag until 2002, when mounting political pressure made refusal difficult. One might expect an organization daily protesting British rule to embrace such public symbolism. The absence of this indicates a distance from the mainstream nationalist narrative. In India's struggle, the RSS played the role of a distant violin, not the drum. While Congress, socialist, communist, peasants, workers and other filled streets and prisons, the RSS concentrated on internal strength and ideological preparation for eventual power. Police records from Nagpur in 1945 show the RSS focusing on power acquisition, not revolt. The organization's purposeful distance was a structural decision aligned with its long-term vision rather than protest politics. Thus, to affirm that the RSS had no role in the freedom movement is not to deny its later influence, but to insist that during India's colonial struggle, the RSS was not an active agent in the conventional sense. The question of whether the RSS earned its stripes in the freedom struggles affects how public memory is constructed, how political actors claim legitimacy, and how communities remember their past. An organization seeking the mantle of the freedom struggle must meet the burden of evidence. By conventional standards, mass protest, organizational engagement against the colonial rule, and public symbolism, the RSS falls short. Even after India attained independence, the RSS again became prominent with the assassination of the Crusader of Peace, Mahatma Gandhi. Now, in the light of all these facts, where does the claim made by our Prime Minister truly stand? We leave it to you, our viewers, to reflect and decide. Share your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe to our channel, and help us spread awareness by sharing this video with others. Thank you so much for watching. See you again in the upfront.